So at the beginning of this month of December, OpenAI announced Code Red. Code Red being a signal to stop everything that's happening in the company and focus on its core offerings. So they went ahead and just a week and a half, 2 weeks later, they launched GPT 5.2. So this is their latest model, and then they thereafter actually launched GPT 5.2 Codex, which is its latest coding model to line up Gemini with Google and Claude Opus 4.5 with Anthropic. And GPT 5.2, from the coding standpoint, didn't disappoint. GPT 5.2 is an exceptional coding model, and 5.2 Codex is competitive with the best coding models on the market. However, from a prompting, writing, general day-to-day standpoint, GPT 5.2 isn't all that great. But what I want to talk about today is what else OpenAI is doing in order to keep its standing within this whole AI race. So the Apps SDK, back in October 2025, OpenAI announced the Apps SDK, which is the framework that developers can use in order to build and launch apps within ChatGPT. And so if you've used ChatGPT before, which I'm sure most of you have, you're familiar with the concept of GPTs, which are kind of like custom versions of ChatGPT. Basically, ChatGPT with a knowledge base that you are able to upload and sort of give instructions to. So it's more tailored to what you want. Now, the Apps SDK literally allows you to submit apps that will then integrate with ChatGPT natively. And so about a week ago, OpenAI announced that developers can actually begin submitting apps to ChatGPT. And so now the race is on, right? In January, there's the expectation that you will be able to start getting your apps approved for use within the platform. And I want to just really convey that this is a huge opportunity. If this amounts to anything like the iOS App Store, then you can expect a lot of people to really be able to capitalize on this. And if you're someone who has been in AI assisted development space, vibe coding, and using these tools, then you are in prime position to start thinking about what it looks like and what are the opportunities that would be great to launch as apps within ChatGPT. So maybe you launch an app that's connected to a web app or a mobile app that you already own, but now you have a more AI native integration through chat. Maybe you create something that's completely new, but you can be sure that this launch will sort of impact the experience of building apps today. So now OpenAI has actually already been working with a number of companies, more enterprise like companies and large startups. They already had bookings.com, for example. Here, they already had Zillow, right? These were apps that have native integrations right now with chat. But just a few days ago, also, this was on the 17th, OpenAI announced that you can now integrate Replit, the app builder Replit, and or Lovable when you're building apps. So effectively, what this means is that you can come on to ChatGPT and start your ideation process and then have it go out and begin building it, and it'll literally build it into Lovable. So if I were to move forward with a concept, so let's say I wanted to build my own CRM, for example, for my company. I could come here and I can prompt ChatGPT here. And granted, I will say that I'm going to put in a prompt for the sake of this demo, but typically I recommend that you really go through an ideation process. You can talk back and forth with chat for that, right? Really just talk through your idea, use the deep research feature to do some real significant research on what you are working on, looking for information on market size, the target audience, things of that nature. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to say, help me build a lightweight CRM that can accept imports from I'm gonna say a webhook connected to a mobile app. So what I'm thinking about is, I have my mobile app drop card, and I've been exploring the concept of having a way of being able to export contacts. This is a digital business card app, being able to export contacts from the mobile app to a CRM. So that's what this prompt here is inspired by. But going through the ideation process is important. You can also use UX Pilot in order to design your app, and then you start the build process. But now, rather than that build process having to begin Lovable, you can actually begin the process within chat, and then it has all of the context on who you are and what you do. So it's able to be even more informed as it's uh, taking action. So I'm going to just tag Lovable in this, and we can see both scenarios. So I'm going to show you the Lovable scenario right here, and then I'm actually going to pull up another chat, and then we're going to show you the Replit scenario right here. And so in both cases, it goes through this process of literally building out the app. And the presentation is slightly different. You'll see the way Replit is presented versus the way Lovable is presented. This is part of that integration, how they went about integrating their apps into ChatGPT, creating a ChatGPT app, if you will, for their business. So we're going to go ahead and turn on those permissions, and then it's now connecting to both spaces, and we're going to see the version that comes out in Lovable and then the version that comes out in Replit. And so, just to speak on this a little bit, right now in the space, you have your more user friendly platforms like Lovable, like Bolt.new, right? And then you have Replit, which has always been a great sort of, I would say, facilitator, middle ground, if you will. I look at Replit almost like a design engineer, where you can build really uh, aesthetically pleasing sites and apps, especially now with their design system and their design mode. But at the same time, you can also do some real damage from like a technical standpoint as well, that you see more so in a cursor than in Lovable. Now the caveat is that Replit can get super super expensive, which is one of the reasons why um, the alternatives are sometimes best, and so that's how those user friendly interface work, that user friendly app builders work. But then you've got Cursor and you've got Anti Gravity, which are Cursor. It's a standalone company. Anti Gravity is Google's platform, vibe coded AI IDE. And so those platforms is when you start to actually go down the path of development, I would say, engineering, I would say, in the sense that you are, when you use a cursor or you use anti-gravity, there is an expectation around what you need to understand. You don't necessarily need to understand all the code there. However, it helps to just know when and why certain things happen. And so I say all of this to say, as we're looking at this integration, you're going to see how these apps come out. But I say all this to say that I believe that there's a serious opportunity for those who are beyond the user-friendly interfaces, the Lovables, but are also AI native, in that their coding journey, if you will, started with using Claude and copying and pasting from Claude or ChatGPT into development environment like Replit, which a year ago Replit didn't even have any real AI features, right? It was more so a development environment. And there's opportunity for those to kind of bridge the gap in that kind of way, because those who are very software engineering heavy have been in these tech spaces for so long with those experiences, versus those who are just starting to understand the concept of even building an app. That bridge is going to be extremely important, and kind of going more granular to understanding how to not even just build for towards the MVP, but to be able to iterate on it as time goes on, is a real value position. And so we can see that the app is still being built out. And if we click on Open and Lovable, you'll see it continue to still build out. Then Replit is doing its thing as well. So we're going to come back and we're going to see what the outcome was. And so you can see how Lovable and Replit as well both really take it there, right? The Replit app finished sooner, so we can go ahead and see what that looks like. But Lovable is still going currently. And so if we click on your app is ready, click to interact, it'll actually now show us the build that it did. And here is the CRM that got created. If you click on open in Replit, it'll actually take you to a Replit project. So again, you're able to start working on these platforms without even having to necessarily leave ChatGPT if you don't want to. So here's the CRM it came up with. I specified a lightweight CRM, and then you have the contacts, the pipeline, the settings, and so yeah, I mean we're at a point where you can actually build a CRM, like actually build a CRM. You have different API keys. You have this inbound webhook, so I may connect this to the app drop card. We'll see. But that's what we got with Replit on the Lovable side. You can see that it's still going through the editing process. And once that's done, we can, compare and contrast. But I'm not gonna lie, I've been liking Replit a lot lately. Replit just came out with, the design mode, and they also have a free mode as well. I'm sure there's been a lot of complaints around how about how much it costs in order to actually use Replit. So they have their own models, their coding models, and everything, but there's no second to Claude Opus 4.5. So that tends to remain my focus, but I do plan on working through skills like Claude skills, and something to check out if you haven't already. And then we're going to see what the Lovable build comes up with so that we can show what the case is, and then we will go from there. All right, so we've got Lovable finished. They actually went ahead and created the authentication. It looks like it's actually still doing some editing, so I'm going to let it completely halt, and then we can go ahead and just see what it's about. All right, so Lovable created lead flow CRM. I'm going to go ahead and create an account so that we can try this out. All right, account created. Check your email to confirm. So let me confirm that real quick. Verify the email. Then it should take me back to the page to sign in. And we sign in. All right. So this is our CRM lead flow. We got the contacts tab, leads tab, webhook events, API keys. This actually looks pretty good. This is actually a little bit more like a Go high level esque than the Replit scenario. I'll say the Replit scenario is a little bit more modern looking to me. You see the color tabs left on the Lovable platform, which there's a familiarity there. But both are good. Both are very solid. Lovable probably has more functionality at this time simply because with Replit the default mode is that design mode, so it hasn't like fully built out anything. But I do like the concept a lot, and I definitely hope that she keeps going with it. All right, so that's how it looks on the Lovable side. I'm sure there'll be some iterations that I would have to do to continue it forward. But that's just to prove and convey what you can do with a Chrome extension. All right, so that's what we got. This is what Lovable built, lead flow CRM, and we're able to see just how these different aspects work. I will see you guys next time.